with a kind of a top 10 list of signs or reasons, if you will, that plant-based is a movement and not a trend. So the first I mentioned, the rise of the flexitarian. So the stats that we've seen, according to consumer data, is that something like 1/3 of consumers now self-identify. They may not know the word flexitarian, but they are reducing their meat consumption specifically. So clearly, 1/3 of the population is not something to take lightly. And mostly this is being driven by young people. It's not just young people, but no question that the young people today are especially more interested in where their food comes from, transparency, asking questions. And what's also interesting is that it's not just health reasons anymore that's the driver. It's the environment that is a huge factor. So that was actually number 10 was the rise of flexitarian. Number 9 is young people. Number 8 is the growth of plant-based is just off the charts. So the last data analysis we did showed the growth at 10 times grocery sales in general, which are pretty flat. We're going to come out with new data in a couple of weeks that will get into that a little bit further, but you just cannot get that kind of growth from any other category in the supermarket. So number 7, I'm going to read you a list of restaurant chains, and you tell me what they all have in common. Burger King, White Castle, Red Robin, Unami Burger, Fat Burger, Cheesecake Factory, Applebee's, Dave & Buster's, Hard Rock Cafe, TGI Fridays, Carl's Jr., Little Caesars, and Del Taco. That's a smart crowd. Okay, not just Impossible. It's that those chains are selling either the Impossible Burger or the Beyond Meat Burger. So when you have that kind of, mainstream coverage, something serious is going on. So number 6 is investment money. And we know, especially those two companies, but others as well, have seen huge investments. And, this isn't just a few, principle-driven investors. These are mainstream investment companies that have taken an interest. So much that the number is that investments have topped in plant-based $17 billion just since 2009. And of course, that's just going to keep climbing. So the other, so number 5 is big food buying into plant-based. So this has been going on now for several years as well, and it's just an inevitable part of the natural foods industry where we've seen that trend, but now specifically in plant-based. Just to give you an example, so a little company called Nestle, you might have heard of, but a meat alternative company called Sweet Earth Natural Foods based in California. So when Nestle takes notice, then clearly that this is a serious issue. Maple Leaf you may not have heard of if you're not from Canada, but they are a huge meat company up there, and they bought 2 meat alternative companies here in the U.S., Field Roast and Light Life, and have combined to create a new entity they're calling Greenleaf, and they've recently broken ground on a huge facility in the heartland of America in Indiana to be able to increase the capacity to build more plant-based meat alternatives. So, and of course, a great opportunity for job creation. The governor of Indiana was at the groundbreaking. I mean, this is, really can't get more mainstream. So number 4 is climate change. So, a lot of the fads that we see out there tend to be sort of individualized, right? So people might choose, and I'm not going to start naming names, although we could do that if we really wanted to. But there are some other trends out there that are really about the individual, right? I want to lose weight, I want to look good, I want my skin to be nicer, whatever. That's not what this is about, right? This is what I call a scientific imperative, that we shift the food system away from an animal-centered production system to a more friendly, environmentally correct way of producing food. And we really have no other choice if we're going to survive as a species on planet Earth. So that is what really makes plant-based not just here to stay because a lot of people are buying the Beyond Burger. It's because this is a scientific imperative that we make this shift. So that was number 4. Number 3 is that the plant washing has begun in earnest. And, again, not to name names, but there are companies now that we're seeing plastering plant-based on everything, whether or not the product really is or not. And so that's something that, we have to pay close attention to. And then number 2 is the political pushback that we're seeing. And this is sort of, I don't know if you're familiar with the Gandhi saying that first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then they win. So we're in stage 3 of that trajectory. And in a fight, unfortunately, we did not pick, but the meat and dairy industries, some people in those industries, have picked with us around labeling issues. So, what to call almond milk, as if there's some consumer confusion over that, which there isn't. But this is just a sign that this industry has really shaken up the conventional food players. And then the last reason is rather self-serving, but I'm going to say it anyway, which is that the Plant-Based Foods Association is going to make sure that this industry is here to stay.